In this video, we discuss finding the midpoint of a segment. So if I have a segment and this is not matching the coordinates, but let's say I had a segment ST like this, the midpoint is just the point that divides the segment into two equal lengths that are congruent. So the midpoint has to fall directly in between. Now there is a midpoint formula in your book which says to find the midpoint, you basically add the x coordinates of each point and divide by 2, and you add the y coordinates of each point and divide by 2, and that will tell you the midpoint. And that will certainly work, but it's best if you don't just get hung up on the formula and not understand what it means. So another way to kind of look at this is you have 2 points. So in this case, 5 and -3, and 1, 5. And these are the ends, and we want to find the middle region here. So this midpoint has to be between these 2 points. So the x-coordinate has to be exactly between these x-coordinates, and the y-coordinate has to be in between these two. So basically what you're asking yourself is what number is between equally 5 and 1? Now you can try to count this off in your head, but the simplest way to do that is to average the numbers. So in other words, 5 plus 1 is 6, divided by 2 is 3. So 3 is in between 5 and 1, and you can quickly check that. 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 2 is 5, that works. So by all means you can use this formula, which is essentially what I just did, but just do a quick check and see if it's a reasonable answer. So what number is between 5 and -3? Again, I can just average them. 5 plus -3, which essentially is 2, divided by 2, I get 1. And I can do a quick check. -3 to 1 is 4, 1 to 5 is also 4, so this would be the midpoint of this segment, and that's sort of how we can go about doing it. Here's a slightly different version of the same problem. At this point, we're given the midpoint is 3, 1, so that's the midpoint, and then point B is at -2, 4, so now we want to find C, which is at the other end. So the question is, what are these coordinates? So again, we can kind of just treat this like logically. From -2 to 3, we say, what's the difference between those? So if we take the difference between those, the absolute value, 3 minus -2, we get 5. Or you could do -2 minus 3, which gives you -5, but the absolute value of that is 5. So the bottom line is, it takes 5 to get to 3. So you're going to go another 5 beyond that to get this coordinate, which is 8. And that is going to work. Now here we're going from 4 to 1, so it's a difference of 3, dropped 3, so we're going to have to drop 3 again to get this coordinate, which is -2. So this is the other coordinate, point C. Now we can do a quick check using our midpoint formula, which says that these have to average out. So 8 plus -2 is going to give me 6, divided by 2 equals 3. So the average of 8 and -2 is 3. That checks out. Then 4 plus -2 is 2, divided by 2 is 1. This checks out. So this midpoint works. So it's always a good idea to check your answer using a known formula at the end of your problem to see if everything works out. So that is using the midpoint formula. So until next time, I am Derek Genova. Have a delightful day.